Hi, everyone. Overall, I guess we could call Monday's session a stock market pullback. The Russell 2000, still the leading index that we follow. Let's go and throw up some of our oscillators. Is pulling back down 0.82% today. Pretty big sell off. However, volume, as you will see here on the NASDAQ, which was down 0.37%, came in lower than the day before. And the same thing with the New York Stock Exchange. So today was not a technical distribution day for the NASDAQ or for the Russell 2000. And on top of that, the NASDAQ, as you can see with its intraday tail or wick, whatever you want to call it, overall had a pretty good move off the intraday lows also. And as you can see here, we'll go back to Russell 2000. MACD is starting to roll over. TSV is starting to roll over, so it's starting to try to work those overbought conditions. Russell 2000, same thing as you can see here, barely with the TSV. Let me go and get rid of the volume really quick. Starting to roll over from those highs. MACD starting to roll over from the daily highs, so we're starting to work off our overbought conditions. Same thing with the New York Stock Exchange. The S&P 500, as you can see, it's still very, very overbought, so we have to do some real work here, which means we'll probably have a sharp down day before we get through all of this, so be ready for that. I'm going to raise some sell stops on some stocks that didn't have great days, like LXFT for it reversing most of its gains. Stocks like Baidu be raising some sell stops. CENX raising sell stops. But overall, we should expect further pullback. If you look here, bottom screen, now I've switched it. That's the Stochastics 20-10-10. You can see we're starting to roll over from overbought conditions on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, on the S&P 500, on the NASDAQ, and the Russell 2000 has already crossed lower, so we should not be surprised if we sell off further from here. So overall, caution is, I guess, the name of the game up here, which is why we do have some sells. Let's go over the full sells. Mana H, I was fully taken out of it around the 39 level intraday when my sell stops were hit, so I am now fully out of Man H. Also, BLKB was a new long signal. It was the lowest of the long signals. As I said, the low a day would have been the final cut loss. My sell stop was put all the way down at 41.63 in case something like today happened. Actually, if I would have gone ahead and kept my sell stop back here at 42.78, would have gotten a better fill, but you never know. I didn't want to keep it that close to where I'd get stopped out. But BLKB is a full sell. Also, I believe VIMC is on an end-of-day basis now as a full sell. I've already been stopped out of that position a couple of weeks ago. It seems like, feels like it. But VIMC with a close below 50-day moving average and losing that green bop is definitely a goner. Partial sells, LOPE, very disappointing. Very, very, very disappointing. 75% sell because it's still holding these lows. That's going to be my final cut loss level. A lot of one-day sell-offs get reversed immediately, so we'll hold the rest of the position on low. LDRH, same thing. Half of my sell stops went off intraday. Going to go ahead and take off another 25% of the position end of day, but it's a 75% sell. I'm going to go ahead and use this low here on this day, 33.26 and 33.16, not necessarily the 32.11, as my final cut loss level on an end-of-day basis for LDRH. My sell stop is below this low of day right here, 32.11, but LDRH is 75% sell, and a long that I gave but I did not take, and I thought I would, but that was a bad decision because on Friday we got a good fill at $2.94 and it closed at $3, so I felt stupid then. But now it's closing at 286. Technically, it's a 75% sell. I'm using this low a day as the final cut loss level. If you use the 288 level, then it is a full sell back here using that low a day, or 289, which was the other previous mark. So this one would be a 75% sell. I would go ahead and give it one more day to see if it can't, re-rally back, especially with the below average volume. But I'm not long that position still. I gave it out, so it must be looked at. PAM, that's going to be a 50% sell. Remember, on all these 50% sells, going to raise the sell stops to a move below the low a day. I have them a little bit lower, but now it becomes the low a day, the signal day on PAM. 50% is out. AMW, 50% is out. But on this one, since the long position was taken back here initially, it will now become the add signals low a day, basically, back here, which I didn't take because of the low below average volume, but a close below 37.60 will have me completely out of AMWD, as it's another 50% sell. And LXFT, very disappointing. A new long position, small long position, didn't have a whole lot of capital put into it. Turned out to be a good thing now. It's reversing that big one-day gain, so it's a 50% sell, and we have to raise the sell stops. I believe I have it right here below that low a day, and I am now going to raise it to right below 38.57. So that's it for the sells. Potential longs, I'm not going long, but we'll keep watching. Oil T. TTM, I just gave that out as a full sell because it closed below the 50-day moving average and the low a day of the signal date. Gapped up in the morning, giving us an excellent fill, just like ALNY did. That was nice, too. We had a small loss turn into a small gain on our 75% position. But TTM could be considered another long. But what I didn't like is it closed well off its high day, so it is not a new long. Just wanted to show that to everybody. And then ESRT, another pocket pivot point signal here around the 50, 200-day moving average. One to consider. What I am going to go long, though, new long position, VRX. It's breaking out above this recent resistance on well above average volume. It was in 3 separate scans: my CAN Slim scan, a high price stock scan, and my price volume BOP surge scan. Longer term chart, you can see that it comes from a very big uptrend, and so there's potential for a huge move in this stock if it does another measured move higher like it did from 2010. But it's a very bullish long-term chart, very good chart here. And then Shen gave me my favorite price volume BOP surge. However, Shen's chart pattern isn't as nice as you like to see. Normally you like to see a stock uptrending, not making new lows like it did here in October, then build a base sideways on low volume, then put in this pattern. But if we go back to a zoom too, we can see technically it is doing a little uptrend. If we draw an uptrend line through here, we have a nice uptrend line going this way. So I guess if we do longer term, things look okay there. So if that is the case, then Shen is actually giving us a very excellent high reward, low risk entry point. No matter what, I would have half my sell stops below these lows, like 27.94, 27.96, 27.96, 27.82 definitely. And if it moves below that, then I would go ahead and take off half the position, and then I would have an emergency one below the low a day of today's signal day. But look at the price volume BOP surge. This is beautiful. Now, if this chart has more max green BOP in it, more green BOP, yellow BOP here where there's red BOP, and like I told you, it was uptrending, absolutely. Even though the fundamental growth in this stock isn't that great, it's going to be a 10% long position because of our uptrending market. However, with the current case, with it being a good growth stock but not great, and with the pattern being okay but not great, it's going to be a 2.5% position. And then also ANGO, it got me today. I had one of my sell stops below this low day, 1655. It hit 1654, triggering it in. Of course, where did I get sold off at? Average price 1651.5. So I got priced basically right at the low day of my sell stops. That's what happens. However, this is the first hard sell stop on the book that triggered that by the end of the day I want to get long. Like I said, LDRH triggered one. Don't want to buy that. But ANGO I do, as it gapped lower, went lower, then moved up, closed strong, not near the high a day. That would have given it a 5% signal if it would have been the 10-day moving average, because that would have triggered a pocket pivot point signal, adding the 2.5 back to the 2.5 add I have to do because I sold off half my position. So I sold off half my position. I'm putting that position back on. That's about 2.5% of my account capital. This would be a 5% position if it closed above the 10-day moving average, but it didn't. If you did not have any sell stops hit, then there's nothing you do. This is not a new position. This is just an add back signal based on a sell stop triggering, and then the stock closing higher than where it opened and the chart pattern correcting itself following the intraday action.